We're going to read opening prayers on page 3 times. I take refuge in the Buddhas until I attain the essence of awakening. Likewise, I take refuge in the Dharma and in the assembly of the Bodhisattvas. Just as the Buddhas of the past give rise to bodhicitta and progressed along the Bodhisattva's path, so shall I give rise to bodhicitta for the benefit of all beings and practice the stages of the Bodhisattva's path. I take refuge in the Buddhas until I attain the essence of awakening. Likewise, I take refuge in the Dharma and in the assembly of the Bodhisattvas. Just as the Buddhas of the past gave rise to bodhicitta and progressed along the Bodhisattva's path, so shall I give rise to bodhicitta for the benefit of all beings and practice the stages of the Bodhisattva's path. I take refuge in the Buddhas until I attain the essence of awakening. Likewise, I take refuge in the Dharma and in the assembly of the Bodhisattvas. Just as the Buddhas of the past gave rise to bodhicitta and progressed along the Bodhisattva's path, so shall I give rise to bodhicitta for the benefit of all beings and practice the stages of the Bodhisattva's path.
Guzjan zai dorjen jen jen de lo na ro dai ma ba ma la ji je gam bo ba ba mo de ba ja wan ro gong ba ka jo la ma nan je da jo je da na da na tra dam je da la ma la ba la ye je zo zo la san yun den jam ze nga la wan den de don jen de ba ge la zo jen yi so da so jen je de na de son je ba me ya zeng ge ga da ge ma le de da dam je le dang a ye dang be cha je wo da ge lo je san ro bar sin ja lab de zor je lam dan ro bar sin ja lab de zor lan ro wa se bar sin ja lab de tro wa ye je san ja bar sin ja lab de zo dang ge den jen de wan jo ga ba me ba je ba me ba da me ba wa me ba ro me ba da de me de je Trubani je den ba zo bo san je ma nan je dam ba de la zhang zar de zhen jin za ba la ma ji je go zong de je zhen na da ge ju lan be de da ge den ba dan zhen je dong jia jin bon de ba zhen je la de so ta ngarang so na zambo ju bu mo lam jin de ba Tuni lamzang shibate shibakarwa Tuni lamzang shibate rani lamzang bolonrowa tang yin lamzang bolongo ba te chadu yore jirdang ge tang aran so jir namba sanje buchu chebar de papa zangbo ju molam de sukapsu Meng da don song ba ke tene nyamlin ji yong go yore de nyamlin yong shi ban da gare meng don song go yore shuna tene zangbo ju si yarab ju zang jin da de da ji cha go yore wa tene den de rab re na jer jin zambel ling de na ne be sim jin tham ji Meg Tonga da Mantonga, Sama dene Lam Zambo, dene Jamba de Zebo Kalamne, dene Revu Zambo, dene Sanjiju Komban Topyo, San Mumbachi Goyo Bare.
We continue with the commentary to the prayer of excellent conduct, which is called the profound meaning of the path that accomplishes the dual purpose. And so this is a path that becomes an excellent path for ourselves, and also we establish others on that path. And so in general, when we practice the Buddha Dharma, and especially in the context of the prayer of excellent conduct, we must practice the actual meaning, not the meaning that corresponds to the actual name, which is the excellent conduct. And so that means that through this, our conduct must become excellent. It must become like a well mannered and an excellent positive conduct. So that is the result that has to come from that. And ideally, in this world, we want to establish all beings on that path, all those sentient beings in this world that we can see and also those that we cannot see. So we should have this motivation, thinking a motivation of love and compassion, thinking that may all of them become established on that path of excellent conduct, and as a result of that, may they attain the state of enlightenment.
다제 잠벨랭 용수 조바 나랑주 메긴 통토바다 문통 통모터바 그 심진 참말라 지핀다 토바지 마종바 이나양 데니 소소라니 다다네 도사게 자캅 데게제 나는네 범 당 심진 돈로 순주라 데니 핀바지 조고 덴다 그때 용와라 Chirtang geda che pinde druzi pamjure yinda geda mambo che yore iriner mala mambo yore ta tezo dene ganza susu suso ke mambo che drum druku yobare ta ngarang chung ogarne dene ta chusok hyabye senare che del pinde drumande me yabo zo ya me dene simba zambo ji zo je de lengin ro chi cha de yore 다 소소라니 그때 답네 다다네사 그때 산에 두솔지 대장까지 용마터 바이나야 소소라니 지뭐야 보지조 뭐 장보지조 생장보진지조 다 드라고 상야 그 꿀홍대 요거고요리 드라지 중화이나 다 장보주 몰란데 파히에 처니하게 양 레븐라버지 그 카세 용고요 바레스
And so even if you're not able to benefit all of those sentient beings in the world, those that you can see or those that you cannot see, even if it's just in your own country, for example, you should think that I must benefit everyone there, like all the people there and the animals and so on. And in general, there are many ways in which we can benefit others and bring happiness to them. There is a lot of people, for example, who maybe experience poverty, and then there are many who do things to help them. But so from our perspective, for us, we just do what we can to serve our own community and benefit them. Basically, what we have to do is we have to make ourselves be good people of excellent conduct. That's really like the responsibility. And so sometimes if it happens that you're just not able to help someone, then at least on your own part yourself, you have to make yourself a good person. You must have a good motivation yourself. So you should have this motivation of this is how I want to be. And then if you have that kind of motivation, then now this exchange here of teaching and listening to the prayer of excellent conduct, that will then open up to a great result.
다 zambo yarab hibate semnara le yong yu du zo de teni lu da nga tola zer ra le yong yu re den du ji yinda ma ji na su so dan rewa yo ba ge ji khabar gen rewa yo ba yin traja tham ji gen rewa yo ba ta de so tam ji la ji pin ji to so no koran so ji yarab zam ju mi shin kin ji ina ji yarab zam ju pal lopti ji ba yarab zam ju shin kin je yang sam sang ngarang so tin hi de da bar ne ma de sam sa no thor yong si ba re ti kap so ji tin so ra wa ji ne ta ji mo re re yin na ya me zambo yabo jigzo tamna samba ke ti samno to go yore ngaran zo namba sanje panguni tani yadam lapul lai tamji sharan ji go tani ti ngaran zo sem ta yadam lani yermi da ha go go yo tan te to tung to la tanda cha do yorwa tanda namju ngar zo tabarte rewa da chimbo yorwa ta ti rewa den robas la yang sem ko toni tani yadam ko la thani bo ji zo go do sem ko toni yadam da sanje da jancho samba tamjela thani bo zozi de la sem zambo shiba de todo do da sem zambo de la main ta tang ko toni jancho ko sem ninje la so ma mo song yin ko yorete sem zambo la todo do tene ten du ta kantar che ngaran su 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 ngene ngin da jo korne zambel indig nana che ta number roma chi la pensun ba na che 직 수속의 직 바야라 잠주로 뚱트 바이나 사미아로 꿀홍제 고고 요래 삼 된다로 꿀홍제 돈에 말한 속에가 강제 바이나 파칠 넘미 바레 삼 이마다 다 말한다고 있나 대 주는 시에 된다 지그 요래 대제 두술함네 다지 핀직 토트 바이나 인라 되네 다때 sendel melodious lang sardu ta gon chundo ko yore soso ke zabla ma thok ni na tin thok ni po yong ya la yang yin la phin ta ya de cha den do sanje de jang chu sam ba thok ji ba yang yin la phin ta ya de cha den do soso ke tinchin pha ma yin na ya che che ren ne mi ba de ji wa sima la ya che ya dewa ji shinga la so ba la che Chiavarsi bala jona woteang tata rang ke yin la phin ta ya de do samne tanda kulong ro thone shyo shi ta yo bare den de sama ke tanda ji thuklan joro jes
So excellent conduct mainly depends on our mind, that is a mind that a positive mind. And then also it depends on the things that we do with body and speech. And it is also important to have the motivation that, not thinking that we want to also help others with that. So all of those people that we are connected to, we have to also help them become people of excellent conduct. So anyone that you're connected to, or even you directly meet, or that you speak to on the phone, or on the over the internet and so on. So have this motivation of somehow that you want to benefit them. So if it is, for example, if you're dealing with a person who doesn't know about excellent conduct, kind of being well-mannered, good manners, then it is good also to teach them that and give them some advice. And if they do know about that, it still happens sometimes that they are not mindful and make a mistake. And then we can help them, remind them of the excellent conduct. So it's good to have this motivation of really wanting to also help others become people of excellent conduct. And then especially as Buddhist practitioners, so it is what we wish, why we practice the deity, for example, is because we want to have this connection to the deity. We want to see the deity. We want to merge our minds indivisibly with the deity. And so in order to do that, we have to be very close to the deity's mind. And in order to be close to the deity's mind, in order to be close and connect to the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas, one must have a good, the excellent conduct. So it really comes down to having this positive mind. Only if one has this positive mind can one connect to the Buddhas and to the Yidam deities. And so then we call that kind of mind different names. We call it bodhicitta or compassion, but basically it's a positive mind. And so that is really our responsibility. And for example, even when you see a little ant, like an insect, you should also have the motivation of wanting to be kind and behave well, even toward that ant. So if you have that kind of state of mind, then probably no matter what you do, you will not be mistaken. And so then also these Dharma teachings will be of some benefit. And since you have already now found a precious human body, then in this way it becomes really actually meaningful. So it all comes down to the excellent conduct. And also, if you want to please the root guru or want to please the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas, the way to do that is to benefit others in that way by establishing them also on the path of excellent conduct. And also doing that also benefits your kind parents by extending their lifespan, and it helps them to be free from sickness and so on. And also in the future to take birth in the Pure Land of Dewa-Chen. So actually also for you, the actual cause for taking birth in the Pure Land of Dewa-Chen and so on, the cause of that is to benefit others in this way right now in this life. So that is the motivation that you should give rise to.
Tene ngaran so ge che dan zambalin din na mat dan simjin tan ji dechi din ba je yongo san na de je ta lama cha chenbo tan ra che tan ra chang chang ge che thungin raw ji ri din phang gin ki ya ba yin na da lama cha chenbo per na che da tan ra ji po ke per na his holiness ke men yu pa yong kin da tene hibde zingda ra de bo so chipo ke teni zablang de hibde zo go read in te ke tel phangin ki yabai na te chipo ke teni zablang hibde zo thoko yo mare te ngarang su mere ngore ne te jingin ro je khon zablang hibde hiban zablang hiba de sem na no yo de mere ke sem na che hibde ro sem kha la de tang tun to bai na te ke yong do go yo res teni da namba sanje be chu hibande lojin dana je ngonyo bun ro ji yore kan yu bai na je tan dal chen je he ji ja ne pha ten ra ji go na rabri na ji je wa nga ma ne jangon yo ba ge je triple ko la so ba ta te ta be je yin go yo ba re te ma jong ba na chen dal chen dal na te ne tu sam la so ba ke kable jam ne teni wang gi juba long gi juba minga gi juba dimba ge tone yong go yore tena marina je gang jong jong je he de na yang ko la koram da je tesa mambo je yo de bare yene yang
gang chung chu che na kore mambo yore
da je je zo glo da number de he jam na yang je le la bo ge je ja thoya me ba no je yore jo je da de chu he go na de ngal so da ta je tabjik de he de bai na de de ken de he de ngone 저거 제딘 용약 깔래 가보지 초진 드나지 요레스 초진이 넘바 산제 비추시반데 하장 고향게 저저글로다 냠리 지초바지 차대 요레 된다 인상 당가랑주 추게 히바데 쳇토보 걸은전네 헤데와 찍보 마연바 소소 남르는 로버 값소 다 급자로 봐 요라 ngōhina 마히나 코란솔 ngaran소 기 추데 파베고 요 말에 코란소 선바 지보 장초그 선다 닌제라서 바 베야 베르제나 코란솔라야 딘소지 데니 다 랑커지는 많이 냠도 소나다 수콜라 까마마데 나네 다 드라도지 지 타바이나 데니 ngaran소 심지 유사 줄라라 심지 mambo요서 델로나 마네케 체와지 딘파 게 잠네 코란솔라 도네 호아제 이가바이나 다 대차마 추그토네 이나 핀다데바 차도요리 다 드라도지 용토고아데 카침보레스
And so we must have the motivation thinking that everyone in this world, all beings be happy. But then, even though that's our wish, we also cannot just kind of leave it up to just the great masters, there's a very special Lama, like somebody who has a very high name, a title like His Holiness, or someone who has gained the there's this reward, this gold medal for world peace. We can't just leave it up to those people if we wish for world peace, because world peace really begins within the mind. And in order to bring world peace about, therefore, everyone's mind has to change to a peaceful mind. We can't just leave it up to those great beings. And so if we want everyone in this world to be happy and well and there to be peace, then we have to also make our mind be like that. When we teach the Buddha Dharma, so from the one perspective, it could be a little bit difficult if one wants to teach the Dharma and just tell someone you have to do this or that. So ideally, one is someone who has already trained in a previous life, has already practiced in the previous life, and is like a durgu. And if not, then maybe that the one who teaches the Dharma has worked hard to study in this life and has received empowerments and transmissions and the essential instructions. So that's at least necessary, because on the one hand, one cannot just teach kind of a text randomly. There has to be a certain order to it, and it's very difficult actually for it to become really proper. That's from one perspective, but from the other perspective, again, the Buddhist practice is also pretty open and kind of spacious too. And it kind of maybe not so difficult, because it doesn't necessarily, to teach the Dharma does not necessarily mean to sit on some kind of throne and teach the Dharma, but it just also means to bring happiness to others. For example, if you are traveling on an airplane and the person sitting next to you, so giving them the Dharma does not mean that you have to start teaching them the Dharma, but for example, you talk to them and whoever is next to you, you do something that will make them happy. You cultivate love and compassion for them, or kind of through your words, you remind them of love and compassion. Or when you're traveling with someone in the car and you talk to them, you do whatever to make other people happy. Or when you are at the place where there are many sentient beings together, like animals and so on, then you can say the Mani mantra out loud so they can hear it and then dedicate for them. So these are few of the many ways in which we can benefit others through the Dharma. So it's important for our conduct to become just like that.
Then do logigon chatsawate, Reki Husin, that there Yijigon chatsawateres.
So in our prayer, we have started with the 7 branches, of which the first one is prostration. And so generally, the order of prostration is body, speech, and mind, but here it is body, mind, and speech. And we already talked about the body, and now second is the prostration of the speech, of the mind.
Denida be dereda. Denanga dambo chansarwas and dambot chadua, Denny. Te carisonusina Durjik ding na Durni Sanji Nam Sanji Seju Una Yukbata, Tether Chuni Chuji Ying na Maluba, Tamji Java. 다기 강월 무세 다 대갑수 조다 Yungting Jimbo gonna chance go yore. Yiji gonna chance shibande Yungting Jimbo Tony, Sanje the Jancho Sambatamjik. That in the Dambo Durje Hibande, then Deacol and the Hiji Ja Hita go yore, Tatang Gala Hubana yi. Oh, the Hindo Ja Hit and Tip taking Alan the Hija, my own Churang, the Hija him and Launco Marira, Marwa, Neta Higana Humba. Logic ni che koramda matakta when he gonna let up with your maris teach. That day in the air that I tell it in the head ja hitadu. The tap they go around the hair of Jahim and Namugo love young Mariwa. The Naranke Ihitachi and Lab Chogro, the inner the Kalakabono, the Kake or dinner. Then the da Kalakabo the Kanichano use. Dirty in a Durni Sibanda. Chirtan Churan Chungun Banzu. Then Droa. The Sunana, Lobjong Navaina, and his Sipo Yori, Mambala. Then to da, Durje Hibandala, Dur Hibanda, Yawa Mambo Yori, Mambo Nange, Kaheji Hubaina. That didn't get Tambo Dur Tarabs, that Dur Tarab Hiband, Dur Nange, Hajang Chunwake. Tang around to make a janja tatoku yomar, not to make a tamatoba maze, sinrik bagdada, chamtong jangshers, hachan trawa tong to jike. Take a young tom to go yomares, that they will get hajang traboke, dirtella the traps secures.
So the verse here is sort of in the blue prayer book. We are on page 52 and still verse number 1, but the third verse of number 1. It says, I conceive the entire realm of truth to be completely filled with enlightened ones. On each atom, I imagine there to be as many Buddhas as atoms in the world, each Buddha surrounded by many bodhisattvas. So when we prostrate with the mind, we are recollecting the qualities of the Buddhas and the bodhisattvas. So recollecting qualities is an homage or prostration of the mind. And so this one term here that must be explained, that's a bit difficult to explain. On each atom, this term atom or atomic particle, I will try to explain that, but as I said, even if you were to have a year to go through all the stages of this text and teach it, it's still not very easy. But since I'm trying to explain it as well as I can, and then probably no one will say that I don't know how to explain it, I will just explain it. So anyways, what is difficult about the atomic particle to understand here is, so it's a very actually complex term to explain, and it is explained extensively in the Dharma and the Vinaya teachings. So if in the future maybe you read about that, it might be more clear. So regarding this atomic particle, there are actually many divisions to it. But there is this kind of subatomic particle, the smallest, most subtlest of particles that we cannot see with our bare eye. And even scientists with microscopes cannot see it. It's so small. So that's what we call this smallest, like, subatomic particle.
That did the tarab cha dun the send cha dun the ruruk jeundu the tarap cha dun yore cha dun the ruruk jeundu the tin hibanda toko yore the tin mare the ruruk ji chik char chik the kare cha sundu the tin hiba charwa that the tin hiba the taran sinre ba ke Tramtong Jakin Tongtoba, Naranzo make and Tongmata, and that's other. The trees and Tontoguera. That's to make the get Tongtomada. 다 더처럼 듄 처촌 때라 된 두틴지 가서
So if you take one atomic particle and you divide it into 7 parts, each of these 7 parts that makes up one particle is like maybe a subatomic particle, so it's a smaller particle. So a subtle atomic or subatomic particle. So if you put those 7 together, again, you have one particle, one atomic particle, one atom. And an atom is something that scientists can see through the microscope. But an atom that consists of those 7 parts, the whole atom is something that we cannot see with our bare eyes.
다 된다 그 두틴데 양 차드는 세데 차드는 처루로 진도 자더를 시반다 저거 요레스 자그드티
This one 두틴 듄디 양 루럽세나
두틴 듄 요소 대 처루로 지도 자더 직조용 거라 자그드지
체르바
자더 체르바
디 담보 디 충슈디
충히 더 차라라
둘차라와 둘차바식 둘체라와 둘춘둔
두틴둔데 자더 직차
So then so the smallest one is the subatomic particles. Then so 7 of those make up one atom, and then 7 atoms make up what is called literally one ion particle.
다데데 자더 둔데 처촌데 델라 르몽그 더세게 요레 다 르몽그 더세 고한데 르몽그 뿌요라 뿌그 짜지 자와다 제모니 제모텔라 다 차세은두 데네 다 하정게 저도 그런게 다 차케데 참모지 인사를 디줌제는 된다 추더 둔 쪼그 둔데 처촌
리봉
추더 둔 처촌데 르몽 더제 차서
차둘
चादर से चुदर ओ चादर दून ते चुदर चिक रेस
तनी चुदर
दून रोंग कदर चिक छा रहे हैं
then if you take 7 of those ion particles, 7 ion particles make one water particle, and then 7 water particles make one it's called rabbit particle. And so what that means is if you take one strand of hair, one piece of hair from a rabbit, and you look at it, the tip, the very tip, the finest part of the rabbit hair, the tip of the rabbit hair, so that tip is like one rabbit particle.
다 르몽그 더 둔데 처촌도 록더 직 차레스 다 드서 뻘상 당고 여러와 뻘 맞아 로코랑 상 당시나 되니 아세 대화 그 미저 차르도 네 록더 둔데 란더 직 차레스 랑 버제
So then 7 of these rabbit particles are one sheep particle. So again, it's the sheep hair. So it's called sheep particle, but don't think of it as like 7 sheeps or one sheep. It's the one piece of hair from the sheep and the tip of that hair. So 7 rabbit particles are one sheep particle, and then 7 sheep particles are one bull particle.
다른 때에 파망 휴야 요르데다 대상가 가랑 저근데니 고고야 돼 파절 고트 이비야난 그 요르 대인자 다 가래 고고 요르스는 더 춘총 단다는 더 침보 요바데 하자 양치베네 히마르 웨스티다 남중 아초 그 삼노라제 침보 직낭도 춘총 망보 요데바제 산은 거고 요르바 침보 직낭도 베는 강바 침보 직는 망보 요데 요 삼산라오지 초코 요르 마도게 되니 춘총은 침보 망보 단다지 Samyulande pa samji macha zo nam chuna no yong do wande nga chu chunong ko log le labo je samno ke chik to ko yo mari samno da de nga chu de ko go yakar sanje ke hin dur ha jang ke tham tara dur tharap song so dendra ke chahi jing nang da sanje ke trang hinkham samje macha ba den sanje da janchu sum ba samje macha ba yor da sun thong ko yore 노르장게 따라데 군 장초선바 군즈 사절라네 버스 장초선바 군즈 잠보케 다 잠보주보 몰라라서 버 군즈 잠보게 간다 쭈바마 띵용도 드니 따라데 그 자레 따랑가서 노르 따라 손본버 노르장 근자레다 다딘 자라완데 솔로이 톱진 자라용 거요레 로이 톱시바데 로데 제 야제 땅야나 체르네 바차거요레다 체르네 바 사묘르네 바차도요레 대인자 다 데이터 비행한 담진 가족 다다 제 유사 말에 상야라고 제 마도 영어 말와 데데 빼는 가랑 수 니저 그 더지 가수 니저 더 통고 요라와 니저 그 더지 칼 신카 망보 요리 세와 제와 차트 요리스디 제이 마치 친로 너와 아데 니저 더지 칼테 이 치라 마치레 지크요나 더 차랍지 타올라 데이 치칼 카볼와
And so then that goes on and on. There's many more of these kind of atomic or particle divisions, but for us here that should be sufficient just to get an understanding of the kind of dimensions we're talking about, just to also see how inconceivable it actually is that within such a tiny little particle so much can be contained. So normally when we think about something that contains something, for example, this large building here, this room contains many people, then that is something that we can comprehend. But then if we go smaller and smaller and say that in this tiny little space there is so much, then it becomes more and more difficult for the mind, the intellect to comprehend that. So the main thing that we need to understand here is that it is said that within a single of atom, or actually this like a subatomic particle, the smallest possible particle, there is an infinite number of Buddhas and pure realms. There are infinite Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. And so this is what this merchant son Norsang was directly introduced to, and he had seen. He was taught this prayer by the 10th Bhumi Bodhisattva Samantabhadra, who showed him this path of excellent conduct, and this is then how the merchant Norsang had seen it. And the way in which this is seen is through the power of the mind. And so regarding power of the mind, as we keep increasing or develop the power of the mind becomes completely transcendent and can see things that are inconceivable. So now when we just tell someone, and then we can really understand that when the mind becomes inconceivable, that there are all these pure lands, because we begin to conceive them. So from our perspective now, for example, what we can perceive is, for example, like a particle in a sun ray. So we can see that. But then if someone tells you that within that particle there are billions of Pure Lands and Buddhas, then it's hard to believe that, right? And then if we go even smaller than an atomic particle, like the smallest part of an atomic particle, and say that within that are all these millions and billions of Pure Lands, then obviously that's even more difficult to believe in.
Tanda panta ro je kanira ke yori shubayna pena zoba chimbo tugar gon yondu nizar ke tigle jingna na jawari nga thamje ji to ko yore so nyamli pa thamje ke nyamli manang na tene nyama sakola le chewa ke nyama dinna la kzuni zaman ji to go yomarwa te so ke la kzuni zanji mata ba ma se yin ke je la ke dana zuni ke na ban la che samo tangwa zamji te de la che zo go su za da cha do yong do da che se ngin pan da wo da zma ri sim da wo da da cha do go yo de so rani ke te ke gomba mi be ke da ro 간단 디 판다 데레 다 데데 더르탄다케 다 니마케 녀저징나 다 자와랑 아담 지투고 요레스 나 가케 가레송고레 데 족친 당하 갑지리 도 갑스 요 마레스 도 갑스 요하 갑스미 히와디 요 마레스 추 코랑케나나 도 갑스 요하 갑스미 센도완데 가니 차그 수수로데 야르젠로 마탐나 드니 렘지렘지 단 데는 손도와 조랑 가시 더 차랍지 강라 산제 단 장초서 번 코니트 제와타자 곰마타 바이나 니저 그 더다 비치 칼곰 드니 렘지 마 락파니 마 차와란 로 손도와 단데 밍아 하장게 댄사보 레스
And so what would be evidence of that actually being the case, that all these Buddhas are within a single particle? For example, in the practice of Dzogchen, there is a practice called Togal, or in English, direct crossing or leaping over. So you're leaping over. And that practice begins with gazing at sun rays. And through this practice, eventually, you see like light spheres or bindus when you gaze into space. And then eventually, as you continue, you see the 5 Buddha families and deities within those bindus, and so forth. So this is how it becomes for someone who practices. Someone who does not practice, they cannot see at all, even within a large sun ray, they cannot see the deities or the forms of Buddhas and so on. And then those people who cannot see that because they don't practice, they might even be jealous of someone who says that that's what they have seen, or they might accuse them of telling lies and just don't believe what they're saying. But this is just a sign that oneself is not really practicing, because if one practices, this can certainly be seen. So, for example, when one really practices, and within a single sun ray, you can see the 5 Buddha families, the deities, and so on. And so then there's also some who say that, this just belongs to the practice of Dzogchen or the tantras, the mantra, Yana, but it does not happen in the sutra path. So it's not a dharma that's explained in the sutra path. But actually, the reason why this is also said that way is because we are at a certain level when we practice the sutra path, and so gradually the mind, the strength of the mind, the power of the mind develops more and more. And actually, as it develops more and more through practice, things become more and more clear that way, until finally one sees all the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas in just a single atomic particle. And of course, if one is not able to see that right away, one begins with a more coarse practice, where one, for example, just focuses on a sun ray particle and meditates on that, and then gradually one moves from coarse to more subtle. So that's a very profound point.
다 대야지 찹 초나와 혈소나와 납소나와 찍보라지 드나 산지 장조스 마마보요 바자 마인바 대들 취지 연 말루바 송도 왔대나 취지 연 희반데 취그 내록 말이 달아 취지 연 희반 가랑주 딘 감데라는 지딘지 감딘난게 다 발람 그 감단지 천도인데 딘나는 다 용수 찹데 요르송 드나 송거 요르 근데 찹데와데 대답을 곰 냠링 톤의 용두 때는 대답을 무슨 용크 요바 tanda cha do yu zang teni dan de su ko lo rumbo che ke yang se song da dolen ji dwa tlin ji song do de re da dolen de so la nang na de nge da da ji be ha jang ke travel ke do tarab de sine ba kan thong ma ri la ro de nga khanang ni ma la yong ba ma ri nga sire ba ma ri sine nge hi yo ma ri de ina de yung lo ram ja na da song yong ko yo re de ken sire ba la ngar chu ge chung ju ji ke yo ma ri sine ba khurang zu nyam da choran so tropo tromo sine ba yon de trawa tlen ji dolen ji ra ngune pha pin ser pin pe ma si ya bo yong ko yo ro wa de de le de na sim ji ma bo pin to ko yo re de ni chu se je de nyam ni ji dang de ji dang ji hi ba na ne 제 카야 당 마쯤이야 담제 취차的요리 카 아당 마쯤인데 취차的요리 난 등에 카야 당인데 네 심지 담제 핀 피치의 당긴 사양라오다 철중요한데 니송게도 고 담제 까야지 당 중고요 삼삼노지 저터바이나 네 취차的요리와 단단하고 진데 돌렌제네 아보요 때마도 nga ka chuju de ya ko par ka chuju ya bo mare nga ke lama de ya bo ko lama ya bo mare se de ne tene tenal je dolen je de ne te choran ra wang ri de de pinton je yo mare de nu nu yo le ta ni son ro ya jo sa no yo re den de ngarang so lo de sanje ke tarha de king hing bo se je de yo son ro ta de lo de rin tar to de lo de ya ka che ya je ta na ta ya yo re 지완들 땅야 요리 바도니야 땅야 요리 산제 그 신칸 대화지 신지서데 야제 동야 요 바드나 송고 요래 된데데 드나 같이 모르스.
So when we speak about those Buddhas and Bodhisattvas and all of these Pure Lands, as it is said here, the entire realm of truth is filled. So that means that it's not just those Pure Lands that are like in the eastern direction or in the western direction, that's where they are, but actually everything is pervaded by them. So the whole Dharma Dhatu sphere, everything basically is pervaded. So here when we speak about Dharma Dhatu or Dharmata, it does not just mean the nature of all phenomena, but actually it just means just everything in its totality, like the entire universe, this every space, the cosmos, is pervaded by it. And it is recognized through meditation practice. And that's also why Gachin Rinpoche always tells us that it's so important to discuss the Dharma with each other and to ask each other questions and to, speak about the Dharma, have conversations about the Dharma with each other. And so then your understanding will become more and more refined. It's almost like scientific, and of course I am no scientist, but even just from the perspective of the vast teachings of the Buddha, the various scriptures, actually, this is how our understanding becomes really very refined when we really talk to each other. For example, there's friends who discuss the Dharma with each other, and in that way, through discussion and talking about the Dharma to each other, we are benefiting one another. And if we benefit each other, then that will also bring great benefit to many sentient beings. And then basically anything becomes Dharma practice. For example, if you just open your mouth and then you close it again, that becomes Dharma too, because it depends on your motivation. If you open your mouth, your motivation should be, may this benefit sentient beings. And if you close your mouth, then you can think, by closing my mouth, I'm closing the doors to the 3 lower realms. And so anyways, discussing the Dharma is very, very, very beneficial. But discussing the Dharma also means to kind of remain open and unbiased and not thinking that my lineage or my Dharma, my path is the correct one and he's wrong. So it's not as in terms of convincing them that we are right and they are wrong, or saying that my teacher is better than your teacher and so on. Of course, it's up to you how you discuss the Dharma, but if you do it that way, probably there will be not so much benefit, and there also will be some harm, because when you engage in such kind of biased conversation, you actually are creating the causes for birth in the 3 lower realms. And so the Buddha had said that we all possess Buddha nature, and this is really, it is the kind of intelligence that we inherently possess. So it is the kind of the knowing mind that we inherently possess, the potential to know. And because it is an inherent potential of knowing that we possess, it can be developed, it can improve. And not just in this life, it can also continue to improve in the bardo, and it will continue to improve when you, for example, take birth in the Pure Land like Deva Chen. So such improvement is really important.
Dangwa de la samno che tang tene so so ni ndo bakap so malam la lampo che jik zama ya ba lampo che mambo mi yong ba tang tene robo nan ke ta robo che shu robo himalaya de dan je mi yong wa malam na ta so so ngone be na nyar sa de so so zupo hyong sam che nyar sa che na nyar de yore de ta robo himalaya malam na yong cho ge yo ba ina malam si ba de lon chu xian la ro 다 로 양다 바지 몰라 데니스 다 산제 세와 자동 가르치 용 모초바레스 다 드라벤 소소소소라 양 베당 드라그 토니 지 드라벤 과 코르노 문삼노 당 바이나 델 삼종 그 히랍시 히랍베 짜침부 그 히랍지리 히랍송 요왕 아졸라 두종 그 히랍 시긴 투용바 데니 삼종 히랍 히바드 수소 그 삼네 삼노단 삼종 그 히랍데 या कंफर्ट तांग दु गोमजों की शराब चानो गयो ते तदा सम तांवा इना तने रान ठु जे यो दे बा छा दे योरेस.
In many of the essential pith instructions, it says it is because nothing whatsoever inherently exists, anything at all can arise, anything can appear. So, for example, if you're dreaming at night, you're sleeping, you can dream of an elephant, not just one, you can dream of many elephants. You can dream of, for example, the Himalayan mountain. Your body lies in your bed sleeping, but in your mind, in your dream, you are at the Himalayas. So that's possible. So even though that's maybe a confused perception, but it's possible to appear because you're dreaming it. So if that's possible to appear, then why wouldn't it be possible for the actual Pure Lands, the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas that actually truly exist, to appear? So if you think in this way, it kind of begins to make sense if you think about examples like that. And so this is how you develop the wisdom that arises from reflection. So first there is the wisdom that arises from learning or hearing. So first you hear from teachings from others, and then you reflect upon them. So then you develop the wisdom that arises from reflection. And then if you continue to reflect, then that develops into the wisdom that arises from meditation. And so through going through these steps of reasoning, you can gain an understanding.
Tene kangwar mu se tene na tsai tama tene buge na mu se ba de mu ba se ne yor di mu hi ba den ka ye nge he ja de mu se yo mari mu ba se ba san ri san sem la da za image je ba san ri sam ro yor nge he ja ro den nge he den nge yo mares mu hi ba de da da garik to ni sung go yor se de da yi ji go na chance go yor wa yi ji go na chance shi ba de lu ji go ne da manga ma sa la zo ya la ya de so ro wa nga go ne ji ne yong go da yi ji go ne shi ba de mu shi ba de log don da de so la chance ne da gan dar sang je de jiang qiu sun ba jie wa cha ja den da yo ba tani ngusun jarwa ina ri tana gom yongdu ta tela tani hakwa zamji ya yaba mayin ba ta tikala tani ta chanchi go yore chanchi ba dia sem ting ni tani chanchi go yore.
Then there is this term here in that same verse in the beginning, conceive, I conceive. And so then also it says, I imagine. So when we talk about conceiving or imagining, and some people might think that it's not real, it's just imagination. You're just like fabricating some imagination in your mind when you conceive. But that's really not the case. This is not how we understand this term here. So here we are prostrating with the mind. Before we prostrated with the body, where we actually physically get up, and then so we go down to the ground and then we get up. Speech we talk about later, but here we are prostrating with the mind. And so it's with the mind here that we encounter directly all the limitless Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas through our meditation practice. And we do not just let that be with a mere understanding that this is how it is, but when we prostrate with our mind, it really has to come from like the deepest core of our mind.
Namje nga so der mala reba ke rechong bala zumcher tin ris yara si ya gra cho bo la mala reba yong ne tene yara ma chong ma song mala mare ik gong da mala chong ma song yara cher ma song de mala reba zumcher tin ris ta zumcher hi ba yang che kwa lin dang de je ma yin ba che yin ba che zu yong ba na kwa lin ro yo ma to dung to la mala reba ke chu ge ne lo gang yin ba de tin ba ngu be ne lo te nga cho da zumcher zen de he ma ja ran jam ro cha lam sang lo yor de hyom ma ta de de yin za je da nam ju nga cho sam ji ma cha chu ye song re san je ke nga jin nu ba sam ji ma cha song de ni da ra de phak pu kan za nam ke nu ba sam ji ma cha song ta de yin hi ba na ko top re ba de so sam ji ma cha song de san je ke thile sam ji ma cha song de tama de da ra de sung bu tham je ke 다 그런 게 랑히 감 drop 로 삼지 마차 송 디난게 다 따라 지마데 찬도 성우부 삼지 마차 바데 다 삼지 마차 쇼와데 삼옥케 땅 마타 바데 데게 하고 마타 바지 조에스나 마리스 람상 저랑 레라보제 하고 어떻게 말해 투종게 히랍 라틴에 네당서 하고 와지 데글라 삼종게 히랍게 제바자 Dolenji ta tani gomzong ke hira gutoni ta soso ke nyamling le tin chosa ne ten chosa dripa jang laji kare se na soso ko lo de sar ya yong ne perna yoba lakani nyama char khawande tini remji te nyamo gen zamlen sar cham go ro ti na gi chama remji wa cha de ro ye den de rimji wala songbari ma do ke samno chuni tongsa me ba jo maris.
For example, it is said that Milarepa displayed a miracle to his disciple Rejungba, and when he performed this miracle, Milarepa, his entire body, he entered into a yak's horn. And when he was in the yak's horn, Milarepa did not get any smaller, nor did the yak's horn get any bigger. But still, he was in the yak's horn. So this is what we casually call a miracle. So, but often when we kind of try to define this term miracle, we think it's something like kind of an apparition that doesn't really exist. So we see it as kind of seeing something that doesn't actually exist, like an illusion. But actually, that's not what a miracle is. Because what Milarepa really showed, what he demonstrated with this so-called miracle, is not something conjured up, but he actually showed the true nature of all phenomena, how things really are. So this performance, this demonstration of the true nature of things, how things really are, is what we call a miracle, even though that's actually how things really are. We call it a miracle because it is difficult for our minds to comprehend immediately, because it is just inconceivable to our intellectual minds. The Buddha actually taught that there are 4 inconceivable phenomena or dharmas. The first one is the power of mantra is inconceivable. The second one is the noble beings like the Tathagatas, the Buddhas and so on, are inconceivable. The third one is the enlightened activities of the Buddhas are inconceivable. And the fourth is the true nature of all outer phenomena, everything that exists, the true nature of whatever exists is inconceivable. So now we are talking about that one, the fourth kind of inconceivable dharma. It is inconceivable. Inconceivable means, does that mean that you just cannot ever understand or comprehend it? It doesn't mean that, but it means that it will be difficult to comprehend it just like that instantly. So it's not that easy to comprehend. So it has to be developed gradually. And it begins with developing the wisdom that comes from hearing or learning. Through learning, first you understand how things really are. And then through analysis and discussion, reflection, you develop the wisdom that comes from reflection. And then there's the wisdom that comes from meditation. So then you actually practice the meaning of that. And through practice, you accumulate merit and you purify obscurations. And as you do that, as you keep doing that, your mind becomes increasingly clear. It's just like when the sun is rising in the morning. First you see just a little bit of the sun, and then as it rises, it illuminates the entire region, everything. So the key is a gradual progress. So things don't arise like that instantly on their own, but we have to gradually develop these things.
Da pernan sinre ina sinre de durap jubdun banani goson da tarwarewa. Da lorap khache mazan rom da. Namba sanje buchul tu bayena. Yena yan sinre de nga zola pin chimbo ta ka yore. Pin chimbo kan ta ka yorsna nga panda ro mangbo ji tin yong ko yore. Da mla chong re ma song yara chir ma song wa de tata dik big pajar ne heba ina bom kanjur potu sumja karasu yore kanjur da dangerous de dan duso sama darang ngarang choke de karla tham de la mare di de kan ro ma juksa yo lo le na pa juk penders jo chung na
Flash drive.
tin sama hyong ko yo 다 드랍 주든 양추 개pen 넘버 마직라 넘버 마 gond다 넘버에 매 하모 간다르데 드랍 주든 그 양훈라 다 망벌 던다지 용거리시나 디카 틴저 용수 조바 나랑서 페난 테메 그 시몬도 시몬 데타웨 잠제는 참아 효야 자거리세나 망보지 그 이치 톡 말아 데 가와 용다거 보드 간다 침본도 이게 간다 망본도 달라 다 드라티는 그 주봉 지트 유동 담바 요리다 삼대 바로 단데 팀에 충충지 니게 팀에 접다노 드라 충충 지는 가반다 형거리 삼대로 다다라 형도 있어 형도 없어 단데 형고 요발을 때는 말아래봐 총 로고모도 야라칠 로고모도 휴그네 로리샤 삼는데니 반다노지 자게 요사레스
So the kind of modern science has really developed since really maybe more significantly since the 17th century. And so that's just been a few centuries if we compare it to the Buddha Dharma. But science in a short time like that, how much benefit did it bring to the people? And there's a lot of evidence for that. For example, if we take this story of Milarepa as an example, so Milarepa entered the yak's horn without getting smaller and without the horn getting bigger. So, for example, the whole canon of the Buddha's teachings consists of the scriptures of the Gangyur, which is the Buddha's actual words, and the Dengyur, which is the commentaries. There is a total of 300 volumes. And nowadays, we can digitalize these teachings, these scriptures, and store them on a little flash drive. It all fits in this flash drive that is as small maybe as even a fingernail, a thumbnail. It's very tiny. So now going back to the 17th century, if you would talk to someone living in the 17th century and tell them in the future, this is what we will have, and we will have this little thing that is as big as your fingernail, and all of the Buddha's teachings, all the scriptures will fit in that little thing. If you would tell somebody in the 17th century that, they would probably not believe you. They would think that, how is that possible? There is just so many scriptures, and they are huge. There's 84,000 teachings of the Buddha. How can they all fit in a little thing that's as big as a fingernail? But now, in the present day, does it fit or not? It does fit. We can store everything in this little flash drive. And so that is really very similar as that story of Milarepa entering the yak horn. Milarepa didn't get smaller, and the yak horn didn't get any bigger. So this really also is a proof. It shows that this is the actual nature of all phenomena.
Then the Ngaranso Tara, Gines Marpo, or the Druban Soya or Paila. The Nandana Tsengo, your Tsengo Nandana Yosayo, Pacha, Yaye Kanla, Chinang mi Sondo. Yaye Kan Chinang mi Bata, Tarahakor, Kawainaya. Namjung Atsukaretini, Flatamji Yaye Kan Nalo Yodeva, Pen Jinkorina, Jinkorti Nalo Yodeva, and Sanatar. Tan Daran Deni, Zampo Molan Den Sumba Giga wind. That Chop your Tingo person, Samata, Laplak, that's up the Sanjay Janjos Kang the Yuri. This Yayakan Chinami ba, Ditoni Kualan and the Gado. They didn't that raging around to Lolo de Mubachin and Check Gomi on the Zambala. Then they Namjung at so Kajik Tongji Keton, Soso Jila, Yadam La Jibu Jirang, Jaya Lam, so going out a tapi huge or the town on Tokamada. Ontum the Zone Gonda, Kahe Ontum Coyorete, Kahir Kalekaboyorete, then the Rakale coverate the Ke, Soso Lewang said the Manda Mamboyorete, and the Flachik Gombala Kale Kankin to socket, Lockpert did of Durjik and a Durni Sanjel, some of Tamaina, then it did of Durjik and a Durni Sanji, that Jang Mambo Sanjay the Janjus about Gomtabana, that's the Laji going on, Lela Chatsarawa.
For example, there's a practice that we do back in Tibet, retreat of the red Chenrezig, and in that practice there is a section where we draw in life force or longevity, and so within that section it says that the boundless palace of the deity has no inner and outer, is kind of completely translucent. So based on the example we just mentioned, we can also understand that easily. So normally we think that the deities are in the boundless palace. They are inside the mandala. but we can get a deeper understanding through this prayer of excellent conduct, where it speaks about all the 10 directions, above and below and in between. Everything is filled with Buddhas and Bodhisattvas and Pure Lands. So if we understand that, then we can also understand that there is no inner and outer in the boundless palace or the mandala of the deity. And so that is this conceiving here or imagining. So with conceiving this, we meditate. And when we meditate, for example, sometimes we meditate and visualize, we try to visualize a Yidam deity, and we might try to visualize the Yidam in an instant, but then often it doesn't appear in an instant. So it can't really arise in our mind in an instant. That maybe for some it can, but for some others it might be difficult. It's because also our karmas are really diverse. So, but anyways, it might be difficult to visualize clearly a single deity. So if that's difficult, then if we try to conceive of limitless Buddhas and Bodhisattvas and Pure Lands inside a single atom, then from that perspective, it seems to be easier to just visualize one deity.
Tati wo to sumba ngag goni chan sawa tere. Dela Deda ngakpa meze jamso nam yang ji yenla jamsu dra kunchi Yarwa kunji yundi rabju chen debrahi ba thamje da kitu so tan de gabzo sanje ke sung yundi so sartine dara ta ngaran solo kanjur ta tinjur ndo so nyamlin chin simtola che ngune ke ta kowa dungha ke jamsun yu na yang tene ta semla che pin toya singotola ches jamba da zewa ndarzo yang chung yang de ta sanje ke sung garden re ten jiwa tamba ngune ta che yongdin ke che zo de ban de so ke tene sung ge yongdin de la za chen ba zhe ge yo re tene ta de zang a zu sanje ke sung ge yongdin jirtang ke mambo yo re de ta de mambo yo bu jin se de ne ta meze ba jamso ge zo su ko do ta jamso de ha jang zo par ka wa je indu nze par ka wa indu ta sanje ke yongdin de ta ba yo ba de la nga so ke ya ta tu ba ti chang da nyam ba ke tu ba chi go yo res.
So then next we come to the prostration, the homage of the speech, which is the next verse. I honor all the blissful lords, praising their perfections with all the sounds of various melodies, an ocean of endless praise. So here we are remembering, we are recollecting the qualities of the Buddha's speech. So we bring to mind the teachings like the Gangyo and the Dengyo, the Buddha's words and their commentaries, and think that even though we still are in this ocean of suffering in samsara, it is what really has brought any benefit to us, such as the arising of kindness and love, is all due to the Buddha's speech. So we recollect, we bring to mind the speech of all the holy ones, the holy beings, and remember how precious their words, their speech really is. So these qualities of the Buddha's speech is like an endless ocean, like an inexhaustible ocean. So it is this ocean of the Buddha's speech that we must praise.
Ta nga go ne chan sartang de tenin der namjung around so ta shandon don wal tang teni nga dang wa la so ba du su kap so teni ta choga the chupju la so ba thangje ke nang de la lin le yo ba yin de che bo ya ma ma song ba ma che ma song ba che la nong par chu pa gang sin de nga su xiao ba chi go le gu ba jim sin ye yo re tin ten zang ta yang de so ge jin ne de ne guru rum bo che ke sangha rom ko na jin lap che song ta sangha me na yang arang chun di papa zambo ju ba molan de so yang we na ta de don tan na de ne ya bo yo re de ke chi yin nyung khin tam je la ran yin ki yang de korang la de ne de ne bak cha ma bo je yo no ko yo re de ne nga cho ku lu nga yi song ka chawa chama yin la phin ya ke le ka yin de de ne o tan da sam tang ya bo yo re
So verbal prostration, for example, is to recite prayers or mantras or different sadhanas, rituals, also to chant them and so on, and to chant them and practice them in an authentic way. That means without any additions or omissions. And for any additions and omissions, that is also why we practice confession. And also, it's very significant to chant something in a melody. Guru Rinpoche had said that the secret mantra that is practiced in kind of a musical melody possesses greater blessings. But even if it's not a Vajrayana practice, for example, if you're reciting this prayer of excellent conduct, it is excellent to recite this in like a musical melody. Because if you chant it in melody, then others who listen to your chant will have an imprint placed in their mind by listening to the chanting. So just naturally an imprint is placed into other people's minds. And so then whatever you do with body, speech, and mind becomes an activity that benefits others.
Di kapsi yang hibande la koya ji yore, yang hibande namjun ke ngarang so che da nang yima yinpa, korang la yang che da nincha tang, to so mangbo jin zong go yore si. Da yin na yang ngarang so namjun di xiandong la so ban dun du yang, dini yimnu yikye pang to nin dong go yore. De ndu yang nga he ke pakala gom ja, de yo de sukan so so kan de yang che ndongpa zu ke chenpo ji ja na de de gom so la parche yo ta da jong ma song ba tin hi ting go da kar chenpo ro ma la de ne ta so so da yang da ba nam ju nyam den dong de ni yang to so de so so ke de be ko ka ha la pa cha ji ri ma song le cha ma le chun tun bu to ne da de yang ji yin la se de da mang bu ko dong ro ba de ni da de da be ne de ni 다 찬사반데 양거고는 찬사바레스 나거고는 찬사바레스
So also there's something important to be understood in terms of melody, chanting in melody. And so chanting something in melody is not like normal recitation. And it possesses many different branches, such as having a melodious melody, like a sound, like a tune to it. So, for example, there's many different parts to that to be mindful of when you're, for example, practicing together with others, when you do your prayers. Then the point also is to abandon harming others and its cause. So when you're practicing with others and somebody else is in a state of meditation, is meditating, and you are chanting really loud, that might disturb the other person's meditation or be an obstacle to their meditation. So we shouldn't do that, but instead be mindful when we chant so it doesn't disturb anybody else. And also when we chant together, we should be in harmony, meaning that one should not chant some kind of different melodious kind of go off and do something on their own, but everyone should chant harmoniously together. So there are many branches to chanting, but all of that is a prostration of the speech.
Tayang the soke pinto kare yoresina susurang la pejar nita samno tamayina. Naso ke ju the soke nandung kare la de chaha ko mar de koso ke ja tana bi de chi long server da chi bi de ju the soke nimpo jand. Maso semkang da yin ke ma sul chang do. Yin ke ma lu po cha de hibde take yore koran so ngaran sal. Ju the soke ngaran sol tanda ke ton hibde take yona. Naso ke sanje ke song ya ba ke ndo da denon de so la ne tini yang yin po dan derne te chin de tini yin sim chin la ta sim chin ma za ma se ke ji sim chin tam je la kare chin ne de yo ma re de wa te to ko yo ma re sim chin pen rda de so ga da la hyu ni ge da ngar so da ro mo ga da de so da di rda do so zhong ni ne tini rda da la cha ba na yin se ko ran so cha ro yo re de 다 간더 다 두소 섬다는 거 초참아 라오 지차도 요래 근데 대다 그돈다 핀도 요바든 란투송 다 란투보던 산제라야다 대 핀도 바제 야 주바 푸고도 섬사 단다고 요래 근데 양지인라 시반데 근데 다 따라 지 이왕 안로지 돈 휴바이나 근데 지당 룩자 따라 사바스 로그 다더 사바 지 담보 저기는 조사해요.
어떤 나가되는 무슨
나 담보 라이쇼 아야 라이쇼 라이메 룩자터 사바스 네 담보데 니바들라 니힌 제블라 나워 니바스
다고 서리
암초라 니바데 니힌 제블라 나워 니바스 이바데 이동힌 가버시바 이바데 넘버 30 데네 넘버 레퍼치바 데니 니웨히 문튼바 메바스
So what are the benefits of a melodious sound or chanting in melody? For example, a bird, when the birds are chirping outside, we don't understand what they are saying, but it sounds very nice. And when we hear the birds chirping, then our mind naturally becomes naturally relaxed and peaceful. So the birds are able to give us peace and happiness. And so similarly, if the birds are able to give us peace and happiness, if we are actually chanting the Buddha's sutras and the various scriptures in a pleasing melody, then we can see how that can really give happiness and a peaceful feeling to all beings, anyone who's listening to that. Actually, it is said that like these wild animals like the deer and so on, they are very attracted to beautiful musical sounds. And I guess we are all very similar. We all are really enchanted by beautiful sounds. And so we can understand how sound therefore brings benefit. And for this reason, because it brings benefit to beings, it also becomes an offering to the Buddhas. So here the text mentions that there is 5 branches, 5 qualities of melodious sound. The first one is that it is profound like a dragon's roar. Secondly, it is yeah, so it is a sweet or a well-sounding, so kind of similar terms, very gentle and smooth to the ear. Number 3 is it brings joy and delight. And number 4 is and so melody helps us to clearly understand the meaning of those words that are being chanted. And then number 5, so that was 4. Number 5 is so it's like a double negation here, so which makes it affirmative. But so it says, so it is then, when hears the sound, it is not that one will not want to listen to it. So one will want to listen to it.
Ta kandar sanje la sungyan yin la tukje sene yontin yore te song ki yontin nga ki yontin la. Tene ta tso nda wa ina yang te tsama kone ke lopa lamji ne ka su jyo ta ndreba chanya tene drum ne ta delati ne ta to yong bari. Nga tsu to ba chi de kong ki yontin ju bu gon to ba chi gore son te kar chen bore. Choran pe ya bori se ya ba samchen ma de ba yontin yo ba de yontin de ju ne ya tu ne. Te ta ba che ba na de ke nam hi ke ndreba shi ba de ngarang so te ta ba ke ya bu yo ba cha ba. Ke ya bu yo ba zam che ma de ba yin ke tu ba ro ba yin ke tu yong wa. Ta de la so ba de la che ra wa ro cha ba na ta yong ko yo re. Tu mo go sin na tu yong ba ta la so ba ke yong ti mang bu yo zang ta ta kan dar san je ke yong ti tin bu go ne te ne tu ba che go yo re.
And then after that, there are also 60 qualities of melodious sound. And these are qualities that those Buddhas have acquired when they were training on the path. So they have created certain causes, and as a result, they have accomplished those 60 qualities of melodious speech. And so then when we praise these qualities, when we have to do so understanding the actual qualities. So what that means is basically we are not just saying to someone, oh, you are great. Not just that, but also we are telling them like why they are great, like we're expressing their qualities. And so that is a virtue, and that kind of praise, and as a result of praising, there will also be a corresponding result. So for example, having an excellent, a beautiful voice that others will praise. And even if we don't want to be praised, they will still praise us. So in any case, when we express the qualities of Buddha's speech, then we do so by expressing what they actually are.
Tene yang ta kadab tu go yontin sanje yontin de jutse yo sa mar sam sam yong sigirwa. Ta zambo jumbo molan de ton ra tena sanje ke yontin yore sa jancho sam batan je yontin yore. Ti chorang ke to ba ti ba chan ro yore. Te dewa jing molan tela so ba molan tam jin don de tena na yontin ju ya ba. Yontin de ya chedin chuntu ngarang so parke chena khayi ni mi ke yontin ju ya ba. Janjang cha de yore. Tene ten nga zoken molan to sun dong ya la pinyo yo ba de yang ti chane yang ha ko to yore.
And so then one might also think that there's just too many qualities that Buddha's speech possesses. It would be impossible to express them all. But the qualities are expressed in this prayer of excellent conduct. So when you recite this prayer, it is the same, your speech. And also other prayers like the wishing prayer of Dewa Chen and so forth. All of these prayers express the qualities of the Buddha's speech. And it is a sincere expression of these qualities. And therefore, if you recite them, there is great benefit.
Kunle son zeba tamjeng nang song zeba de dang ngom sarche son den to ba mang bun ze ya ba yore tene de kong nang ba ke nyam nyong dang chinrap hirap chama dern song yong ba ri du to solo no wan thwa kan yang me ba re ta den di an chu ke ta chan sa nga gon chan sa wa de hyu sin ta chan sa go wal gu ba ka re ji nga chu chan sa go re se wa ta de re.
So the masters of the past have expressed these words to praise the qualities of the Buddhas. And they have also said that among all the enlightened activities, the activities of the speech are really most incredible. And they were able to say that based on their personal experience of those qualities and based on their own wisdom. And for this reason, these words are without mistake and without confusion. So that is the prostration with the speech. And then the next point here is the essence of why it is necessary to, why this branch of prostration is necessary.
다 찬서 고한데 고바 가레스나 데 찬서와데 나랑 주 뉴모 난게 나자르니 보레 나자르 시고아이나 다 찬서완데 키피용 레라스주바 메바레스 다 데게 제다버지네 나자르데 시게요레 요나 나자르 중 가레리 라소바 돈 상 타와이나 다 다보 나랑 주 나자르 시바데 가레지네 시고요레 나자르 요나 Then around solo dunga yore. Then dunga yore la. Then ngajak chung te karesina. So me yuntin yabu yu kiji cha goina. Ngajar te ke parche chig yore. Dre ke parche chi yo mare dress and loga chig. Du se loga chig parche chig yo mare. Parche ngune chinki de churang ke sem na log ngaja te ke yuntin yom machi. Tadare. Atendu ngajar chu kongbola yuntin ku chom macha song dare tene chedang ke ta ngajar ke ta nu nang ma chu luksa me na tene nu didin raw che kala lok de ba na tene ta nang la chiang yong ko marwa deta be chan ro is.
So prostration, the reason why it is necessary to perform prostration is because prostration is the antidote to pride. And there is no greater antidote to pride than prostration. So first of all, what's the problem with pride? What's the fault? And why do we have to get rid of it? It is because if we are prideful, that really is actually suffering. It really creates suffering. And what's the fault? The problem with pride is that if you want to become a person if you want to develop a lot of qualities, then pride will actually be a hindrance to that attainment. Actually, it's not the demons or the spirits that come and cause obstacles. What's really causing an obstacle to our own growth is pride. Because if we are prideful, we are basically not allowing good qualities to enter our mind. So therefore pride is really a hindrance. And it is said that pride is like an upside down vessel. When a vessel is upside down, no water can enter the vessel.
ngajar de ke parche kare chigere sena perna tambo sanje da chancho samba da phaya jirdan churang ko trobo chigla churang ne chungze yongdin chia ji yona di gen ram ne chur yongdin to lenya la ngajar de ke parche chige yore ko da nga nin danda yin sa yang ko nga le juare sa da da sam sa du ni sosol de yongdin to chur yong to ko yomare ni sosol yongdin mi na ni sosol yongdin chungchung ma je yoba de ke king ne king dik la da 저당 아자라 이와 둔요레 때 간다르도 소처르드나 킹데리 킹네 충제 소소 용디 저당 사자 빈르다 그 송레 용디 총남 아자르체스 용디 충종면서 밀레도 아자르치아요 소소 신동도 소소 되네 추 총나 어다체스 추 충종 마마 되네 마 저저글로 러가는 마바데 코 어다체 보시요레데 맞도 티쳐도 파 가르고는 한국은 피고요 말고 간도 저거래 대나이 사자 벤다 추 총나 어다지 나잘 용딘 총나 나잘체스 된 인도 나잘때게 용딘 춘이 저용마다 봐 용딘 요 마타나 다저 용딘진 그 간자지 그 린도 로자르데 야바이나양 되네 용딘 나지 저커터요 말에 근데양 the young kepache ke sumare chunang lobjar ne pae ta chunan de ne de do de lojal chunan ne na ya ti chota ga ma bang thu ko yo maris ta tanda cha ro yo re ni ta nga chu namjun ji so so le jungze yongdin chi a to so to ne yongdin char so so glin to ko mi pae na sanje ta chancho sum yongdin ka wa yong go yo so so go ra wo de kan de yo ra nga ja ke 네, 다티 ngajar de hiwala, 네 chansawa yulu nga yisum jugon chansawa 네 tablam yakhudris.
So what is the obstacle, the hindrance that pride creates in our practice? And so no need to mention even the gaining the qualities of the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas. For example, just between two friends. For example, if you have a friend who's like learning or like whose good qualities are a little bit just slightly greater than yours, if you're prideful, you will not be able to gain those qualities from the other person. You won't learn anything from them. Pride obstructs that because you're prideful. You still think that actually we are the same. He's no better than I am, or maybe you even think that he doesn't know as much as I know. He's worse than me. So if you think in this way, then you will not be able to gain more understanding, more qualities. So, and if we are not able to acquire more qualities, then we ourselves will have smaller qualities. We will not know so much. But then kind of a characteristic of someone who doesn't have a lot of great qualities is that they are arrogant, or the word is full of themselves. So there's 7 kind of concepts, 7 branches to pride. And in essence, it just means that one is full of oneself. Sakya Pandita had said, when one's qualities are small, one's pride is great. So one thinks that one knows everything. That's a sign that one actually doesn't have great qualities. And then Sakya Pandita continues, for example, one is like a small river, like a creek that makes a lot of noise. Actually, you can it's so shallow that you can just walk over it with your shoes. So it's not a really raging river. So you can walk over it, but it's really noisy. So that's like someone who is really prideful. And so then we are not able to acquire more qualities or learn anything more. And even if you then stay together with a person that actually possesses great qualities, even if you stay together with them for like 100 years, you will not be able to acquire a single of their qualities. Then there is another scholar who had said, so for example, one becomes like a rock in a river. Even if the rock stays in the river for 100 years, it will never become soaked in water. It will always stay the rock. So just like that, one becomes someone with very few qualities if one is not able to gain qualities from others. And if we are not able to gain qualities from others, then there is no need to mention that we will not be able to gain the qualities of the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas. So pride is the one that closes the door to us acquiring greater qualities. And in order to pacify pride, we offer prostration with body, speech, and mind. It is actually the best method to pacify pride.
Still water rain drip na chulawda. Chokma lulu chada jute. Still water rain drip bra. Deep. Ta yundi yoba tham jendare. Yundi yoba de jin to solo ngaja yomar. Ngaja me balten khosok khira pa think yomar. Yu dondo chike yomar. Ta chural ngune changrong ki khirap ju na ti ke matin ramlan drone ta lo ngogo yore ti ngo sin ta yongtin so lingo yore ta ti lo ni yongtin ka che lawa yin na chi zonta me de wa teni lenya yore ta de chi sanji chulok chi bu ko chane mari de jikti ke thone yang ngaja ma je na ma yin ti chi yongtin na chi yong na so so ko lin ta jen ta tan ra ji je de ba yin na teni thar tu di teni so so ti kanza de ta nyam pa cha teni ti so so kanza de le teni ta cho zo lo tele toa zo go man ta yaga cha ro ro ba ti ju ke kanza de la o ko li ji so so ro nga ja chen bo je de ni yong tin ne je ma la na de lo mang bo nyam de de na yong tin ne je ma la ta ma gang da ya chorang kanza de hyab la la de yo ro ji tin ko ton sam ta de re de ne je tang nga zo ke je teni sanje ke yong tin dara zo sanje ke yong tin ye ke yo re de sanje ke yong tin to so teni tin ne teni yong tin tin de kare re yong tin tin na ta molan da ta ban da to re jarwa se da je ba chi na ba ka ta yong tin de samje ma chap pin to samje ma chap la so ba yu ba te da la te ta we mi ho teni nge chang yin la chi ta we je pin to yo san sam no te teni yong ko yo re nga ja wen thabo je de teni nga ja tel tene thado de lamsang je yong ko yo re de so so hyeng tin de thabo de me yin je de chi ri de ko thado lang char wa de zo sang dan de thado jin la ga du mi si de so so ga du na ma ga wa cha ang ko yo ro so so ma ga na teni 다 다닌 코알라 찬티 갈때 소소소소 마가와 제기와 차. 제당 차도 집안데 소소소소 마가와 제기와 가래레시데 차도 된살 상상도 없는데 맞아 상상 여보 당와이나.
There's this English saying, it says, like still waters, or is it run deep? Is it run deep, Billy? Still waters run deep. So somebody who possesses great qualities and is not prideful will also not make a great display of their qualities. So they won't not just pretend, but they won't let everyone know all the things that they know. And actually often when you want to learn something from them, when you know that they have qualities, you almost have to dig a little bit. So you have to kind of get it out of them. It's not so easy to get it out of them, to take their qualities, so that they are not making a great display of their qualities. And actually, this is the kind of person from whom you really can gain endless supply of good qualities. So here we're actually not just speaking about Dharma qualities, but even in a worldly sense, it's like that. If you are not prideful and you try to learn from others and kind of gain their qualities, and if you try to learn from them, then ultimately you will become just like them and maybe even greater. So if you're prideful, you will not be able to learn anything or acquire more qualities. Even if you stay together with that person for many years, you will still be left on the bottom at the end. So even in a worldly sense, that's how it is. And so here in a Dharma sense, when we think about the qualities here in this prayer, we think about the qualities of the Buddhas. And if you understand those qualities, then you will also be able to make such a prayer like this prayer for excellent conduct. And so if you're not prideful, or only if you're not prideful, will you be able to think or supplicate, you Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, your qualities are inconceivable. Your benefit to others is inconceivable. May I also become just like you. May I also be able to bring so much benefit to sentient beings. So such an aspiration really arises only if there is no pride in your mind. If pride is very strong, if you're really prideful and arrogant, then what follows from pride is jealousy. So if another person comes along that kind of threatens your position, maybe that other person knows a little bit more than you, then the pride turns into jealousy. And it is said that a jealous person is never joyful and happy. It's now we're really doing that to ourselves by being jealous, because we are already wandering in samsara, and then on top of that we are making ourselves miserable with a jealous mind. So if you really think about the nature of jealousy and pride and jealousy, there's definitely some kind of correlation between pride and jealousy and kind of a miserable negative state of mind.
Da correct ingors na tangarang ke gebe hini de ga tangal je yondin yorison de zo korang ke ta yondin yabo yo pate ge tin yin la yondin thong a ji ris yang na ta kong ga la tu ba na tra ji yan de ta nga ge tin ba da sim jin la ji pin to ya ge chi de sung ko yore de so so ngun ya ji jam ning ji la hyok ja go do sam san do so wa tan ra ya rin to ra ta ji go yore ta ji 대인도 제 더소제 나자게 줘라 로도 모도 소소라 레도 요레마도 용딘지 그 마탐제 그 추랑 그 용딘자냐 주용 그 요레 데드 나자지야요 마레스.
And so, but also we need to understand that people who possess great qualities, they will always praise us. And people who possess great qualities will never put us down. They will never criticize us. They will always lift us up and praise us. Actually, when someone puts you down, criticizes you and puts you down, it's actually a sign that they are not someone with great qualities. So your guru, for example, has great qualities. So when the guru praises you and tells you you are great, then you shouldn't become prideful. We shouldn't be prideful when the guru praises us. So we shouldn't think that, he told me I'm great, so I'm probably really special. So instead of thinking that, we should think that it is just because the guru possesses himself so many great qualities. It's because he is so wonderful that he praises everyone else. That's why he praises me. That's why he highlights my qualities. So maybe the guru, maybe someone with great qualities only sees the good qualities in others. Or another reason for praising one might be maybe the guru thinks that, for example, I can benefit the teachings and benefit sentient beings. And therefore, when the guru praises me, I feel like it is like a reminder and inspiration to make a greater effort even to cultivate love and compassion, because by praising me, he is also telling me that I have to bring benefit to others. So whether or not we really are able to pacify our pride really depends on ourselves. But if a person with great qualities points out your good qualities or our good qualities, we should not become prideful just because of that.
Tandala karchimbo che yore ngajar tang ningtop se de teni khala se go yore yang nga chu ngajar me pa chi de ningtop me pa chen ro ate ningke yo mare ten de ningtop hi bande zambo ju bo molam de kan re he go ala tin ningtop cher ro go yor ma do chon ro ning yo mare cher ro ate ta ye be sim jin tam je de je pin ta go sam ya ge sam no yin pin ge sam no teni je ningtop de so 흉체를 놓고 요르데 야제 동약 지들어와 몰람 시반데 되니 바치엘라서 바게 소소 담마다 바든 소소 닝답 치르로 가레나스 다 릭부케 용티 토라 네 지탑 지기 자며 인라 핀따기 다나크 삼노데 닝답데 치르로 소소라 ngalande 용티 두유 ngat라테 쳔보인 인보인 삼사데 디크 삼노데 마 흉초로다나 난 내게 돌아양 지 내가 첨부지 차도 요르다 다소 용알라 하고알다 따라 락바점지 효요르면서 차와데 위고나 넘버 산제 벌로이 남자 아세네다 도솔 롭정난고 요레 로이 남자도 솔 롭정야 본나나 데네 하장 그 차기 차와 송요바레 델덴 데네 양 소솔로 로강다 강지hen도 델님보 강띵고도 저 시보하 것도 그레스.
And another very important point on this subject is that we must not confuse pride with determination. Like literally it says a strength of heart. So when we say you shouldn't be prideful, it doesn't mean that you should have no confidence and no strength of heart. Actually, by really understanding this prayer of excellent conduct, your determination or strength of heart should become stronger and stronger. It should become so strong that you are confident in thinking, I'm going to benefit limitless sentient beings. So this strength of heart must be developed. And that is different than pride. And if you are undeterred in your strength of heart, your determination, then no obstacle, no hindrance can bring you down. Then good qualities will increase within you. So when you read this prayer about those excellent qualities, then you should feel encouraged. I am also going to do that, become like that, benefit sentient beings like that. So your strength of heart increases. But you should not think, I already have all these great qualities, and so forth, because then your qualities will actually decrease if you think in this way. So there is actually a huge difference between strength of heart or this determination and pride. So that's just the most important point about that, just to give you kind of a rough idea. But you can go into that part in much more depth when you study the various scriptures on how the mind really works. So when you practice and study that, there are very detailed instructions about different antidotes and things that one should practice depending on one's state of mind.
Thank you very much.
Then we do the dedication on page 11, the first verse in the yellow prayer book. By this merit may I attain omniscience, having defeated the enemies, my wrongdoings. May I liberate all beings who are tossed in the ocean of samsara by the waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death. 64, 21. In the blue prayer book, page 64, verse 21. May every being ailing with disease be freed at once from every malady. May all the sickness that afflicts the living be instantly and permanently healed.
Thank you very much, all.